There's something strangely captivating about a mirror. When you stand before one, it reflects you, perfectly, or so it seems. But what if the mirror wasn't just showing you you? What if, hidden behind the glass, there was something else watching, mimicking, waiting? In nearly every culture across time, mirrors have been treated with reverence, suspicion, and even fear. They're portals in fairy tales, omens in folklore, and tools in the occult. But behind these myths lies a deeper truth, one that whispers through the folds of esoteric teachings and ancient wisdom. Mirrors do more than reflect light. They reflect energy, and sometimes they reflect things back at you that you didn't know were there. Have you ever caught your reflection moving just a second too late, or stared into a mirror for too long and felt like something shifted, subtly but undeniably? These are not merely tricks of the eye. They are invitations, calls to awareness from the spiritual realm. In this video, we are going to peel back the silver veil. We'll explore the forgotten spiritual dangers of using mirrors, why certain mystics avoided them entirely, and how mirrors can act as psychic amplifiers, or gateways to darker dimensions. You'll learn what ancient traditions said about mirrors, why they were sometimes covered after death, and what actually happens when you stare at your reflection too long. And most importantly, we'll give you tools, simple, powerful techniques to protect your energy and use mirrors safely in your spiritual space. But be warned, once you learn what mirrors truly are, you may never look at your reflection the same way again. The mirror, as simple as it may seem, is one of the most symbolically loaded objects in human history. In ancient China, mirrors were not just used for grooming, they were spiritual tools. Taoist priests believed that mirrors could reflect not only the physical form but also the soul. They were used to repel evil spirits, their polished surfaces thought to confuse and cast away negative entities. Some Chinese texts even warned that if a mirror faced your bed, your soul might become confused during sleep and wander away. In ancient Greece, the practice of katoptromancy, divination through mirrors, was well known. Priests and oracles would fill a mirror with water and gaze into it to receive messages from the spirit world. These were not mere superstitions, but carefully guarded rituals believed to open the doors between dimensions. But there was a catch. Too much exposure or asking the wrong questions could invite something unwanted into our world. The Egyptians too believed that polished bronze mirrors could serve as portals. The goddess Hathor, a deity of beauty and fertility, was often depicted with a mirror. But this mirror was not for vanity. It was a symbol of divine reflection, an echo of the spiritual self in the physical world. But Egyptian magicians also knew of the mirror's dangers. They warned that improper use of mirrors could invite trickster spirits who would mimic the seeker, leading them into madness. In the Western occult tradition, mirrors became deeply intertwined with scrying and summoning. Figures like Dr. John Dee, the Elizabethan magician and alchemist, used a black mirror made of polished obsidian to contact angelic entities. His assistant, Edward Kelly, claimed to see visions of beings from other realms through it, but even Dee, with all his knowledge, reported disturbing experiences, visions he could not explain, energies that lingered long after the rituals were over. Mirrors are also central to countless folk customs and taboos. In many cultures, after someone dies, all mirrors in the house are covered. Why? Because it was believed that the soul of the deceased might become trapped within the mirror, or worse, a malevolent spirit might use the mirror as a way to enter our realm. This practice is still observed in parts of Eastern Europe, Latin America, and among traditional Jewish communities. The philosophical symbolism of the mirror runs deep. In Jungian psychology, the mirror represents the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. When we look into a mirror, we don't just see our physical form. We see echoes of our past, fragments of unlived potential, and sometimes the fears we try to suppress. In esoteric schools, especially within Hermetic and Rosicrucian teachings, mirrors are seen as devices that can both reveal and distort truth. Just as light is reversed in a mirror, so too can truth be inverted. The Hermetic maxim, "as above, so below," reminds us that the inner world and the outer world mirror each other. But mirrors can also trick us, just as illusion mimics reality. The mirror, then, is not just a piece of glass. It is a symbol, a threshold, and a tool. Used with reverence, it can show us the divine spark within. But used carelessly, or with ego, it can become a trap, a portal, through which lower energies slip unnoticed. This dual nature is what makes mirrors so dangerous in spiritual practice. They do not lie, but they don't always tell the whole truth either. To understand the spiritual dangers of using mirrors, we must first understand what a mirror truly is, not just physically, but metaphysically. A mirror is a liminal object. It exists on a threshold between worlds, the seen and the unseen, the inner and the outer. Like a doorway that is always ajar, it does not choose what passes through, it simply reflects. But reflection itself is not neutral. In the physical world, mirrors reflect light. But in the spiritual world, they reflect energy. And energy, as every mystic knows, is never static. It shifts, flows, and sometimes clings. When you look into a mirror, you're not just seeing your physical self. You're interacting with your own energetic field. The mirror becomes a witness to your aura, your thoughts, your emotional state, and in certain conditions, even your subconscious. Now consider this. What happens when you stare into your reflection with strong emotion, fear, sadness, anger, or even pride? That emotional energy doesn't vanish. It lingers, imprints, echoes back. Repeated exposure to a mirror, especially during times of emotional turmoil, can create what some esoteric traditions call an energetic echo chamber. This means that the energy you emit while looking into a mirror can bounce back to you again and again, amplifying your own inner state. If you are grounded and clear, the mirror may strengthen your awareness. But if you are scattered, anxious, or spiritually open without protection, the mirror may amplify those energies in ways that destabilize your psyche. There are ancient teachings, rare and mostly whispered, that describe mirrors as psychic amplifiers. In occult training, initiates are warned to avoid prolonged mirror gazing unless they are mentally and spiritually disciplined. Why? Because mirrors can blur the line between imagination and perception, between the internal self and external forces. In altered states of consciousness, such as fatigue, trance, or meditation, the mirror may become a gateway. A gateway to what, you might ask? To the astral plane, to thought forms, to entities that do not possess a body but hunger for attention, emotion, or interaction. Some mystics describe them as mimics, energetic intelligences that observe and eventually reflect your own image back to you, subtly changed. They feed on confusion. They manipulate symbols. They know that mirrors are one of the few tools through which humans willingly gaze into themselves without question or guard. This is why prolonged mirror gazing, especially in dark rooms or by candlelight, has been used for centuries in rituals. Practitioners of scrying use this technique to receive visions, but if the practitioner is not trained to protect themselves, the mirror becomes an open portal, one that does not always close easily. And here lies the heart of the danger. The mirror doesn't discriminate between what is real and what is projected. It reflects your shadow just as easily as your light. If you are unaware of your shadow aspects, your unresolved emotions, your hidden fears, your spiritual wounds, the mirror can become a magnifier of your unconscious. It can turn your own mind into a labyrinth with no clear exit. And yet, most people use mirrors casually, daily, without awareness. They speak affirmations, criticize their appearance, project longing or self-loathing, all in front of a mirror. Over time, that mirror absorbs the residue of those emotions, especially if it's in a private space. Energetically, the mirror becomes charged, and without proper cleansing, it begins to shape the energy of the room and the people within it. The question, then, is not if mirrors are dangerous, but under what conditions they become dangerous, and what we can do to protect ourselves when using them. Now that we understand how mirrors interact with our energy and consciousness, let us delve deeper into the more subtle and often hidden dangers they pose on the spiritual path. One of the most profound but least understood dangers of mirrors lies in their ability to distort identity. You see, a mirror doesn't just reflect, it inverts. Your left becomes right, and your right becomes left. On a symbolic level, this inversion affects the subconscious. What you see is you, but not you, not exactly. You see an illusion close enough to recognize, but distant enough to manipulate perception. Over time, this can create a psychological fragmentation, especially if the mirror is used in excess or in vulnerable states. In many spiritual teachings, the true self, the higher self, the divine spark, is hidden beneath layers of ego, illusion, and conditioning. The mirror often becomes a tool for the ego, not the spirit. It feeds the surface identity, how you look, how others see you, what you appear to be. And the more we look at ourselves through this reversed lens, the more we become disconnected from what lies beneath. This is why some ancient monks and mystics refused to use mirrors altogether. They believed that looking into a mirror daily kept one tethered to the illusion of form, reinforcing attachment to the body, the face, the changing mask of physical life. In their view, mirrors were distractions from inner truth, crystalline temptations to worship the self-image rather than the self. But this disconnection doesn't end with ego. In occult teachings there are accounts, whispers really, of people who became so obsessed with their reflection that they began to see things move independently of them. Not optical illusions, not hallucinations, but energetic anomalies. A blink delayed, a smile held too long, an expression that emerged uninvited. These stories are dismissed by the modern mind, but to the trained seer they are warnings, because when you open your energy to a reflective surface without awareness, you may begin to experience disembodied consciousness, a subtle shift where part of your own awareness detaches and lingers in the mirror. This phenomenon, known in esoteric circles as mirror splitting, can lead to fatigue, fogginess, and a sensation of being watched by yourself. More alarming is the concept of mirror imprinting. This is when an emotion, thought, or energetic frequency is projected so strongly into a mirror that it leaves a lasting impression. These impressions can be reactivated later, like spiritual echoes, especially during liminal times such as twilight, 3 a.m., or moments of vulnerability. Children, empaths, and those who are spiritually open are particularly sensitive to these energies. And then there is the mirror as a psychic snare. In certain magical systems, mirrors are used to bind or trap energies. The famous legend of Bloody Mary, while now a sleepover game, likely originates from older rituals of mirror invocation gone wrong, where a spirit once summoned could not be dismissed. The mirror became its resting place, a psychic echo chamber, a prison, or worse, a doorway. This is why, in folk practices around the world, mirrors are often covered during spiritual work, during meditation, during birth, during death. Because the soul is said to be more fluid during these transitions, and the mirror, ever watchful, may try to hold what passes by. So what does all of this mean for us today, surrounded by mirrors in our homes, cars, and phones? It means that mirrors are not passive, they are not harmless, they are powerful tools, tools that can reflect not only beauty but shadow, not only self but spirit. And if left unchecked, they can distort our energy, trap fragments of our consciousness, amplify emotional residue, and even act as anchors for external entities seeking a way in. In the spiritual world, everything is about intention and awareness, and when we bring neither to our use of mirrors, we are essentially gazing into a sacred instrument with our eyes closed. The mirror, simple in form yet profound in power, is not merely a tool of reflection, it is a spiritual artifact, one that has been used in rituals, revered in traditions, feared in folklore, and misunderstood in modern life. It reflects more than just a face. It reflects frequency. It echoes thoughts. It amplifies emotion. And when left unchecked, it becomes not just a passive surface, but a silent participant in the subtle dance of your energy field. Throughout history, mystics, shamans, and sages have approached mirrors with respect, even caution, understanding that anything capable of showing you your reflection may also show you your shadow, or something else entirely. Throughout history, mystics, shamans, and sages have approached mirrors with respect, even caution, understanding that anything capable of showing you your reflection may also show you your shadow, or something else entirely. We've explored how mirrors can trap energetic residue, distort the ego, serve as portals to the astral, and even imprint lingering emotions that affect your space and psyche. But we've also seen that through awareness, intention, and sacred practice, you can reclaim the mirror as a spiritual ally. The question is not whether you should fear mirrors, but whether you will begin to see them differently. So the next time you look into a mirror, pause. Look deeper than the surface. Ask not just, what do I look like, but what energy am I reflecting? Notice what stares back. Not just the features, but the presence. And ask yourself, is this just me, or something more? Because in the spiritual journey, every reflection is a message. Every surface holds a secret. And sometimes the most dangerous thing is the thing we think we understand. If this exploration opened your eyes or stirred something within, consider subscribing to the channel. There's much more to uncover. Ancient wisdom, hidden truths, and sacred techniques waiting in the shadows. And if you felt a shift in perspective, give this video a like. It tells the algorithm you're ready for more. Until next time, walk wisely and reflect with care.